Hello, and welcome to the Next Man Up podcast. My name is Logan. If you've been listening to my first podcast that I made a few months back, then you'll know that this is a brand new podcast about sports with me and my good friend Jacob. Sadly, Jacob is not here for this. I won't call this the first episode just because it doesn't have both the guys. I just really couldn't resist. He's not really available right now to record an episode until next week. But with the stuff going on in the NBA finals right now, and also me just being so eager with this new setup that we have, this new, shiny logo and, that sick intro music that you just heard. I was just too excited. I couldn't resist sitting down and recording something to put over this stuff and have, see something up, on here. But yeah, the first official episode, I think we will be recording Monday night. It is Friday night right now, technically Saturday morning because it is past midnight here. But so that finals game 2 ended earlier tonight, and that was a better game. Definitely, like I thought, it would be more competitive for game 2. We haven't actually had any coverage of anything since before game 1, so this is the first year hearing from either me or Jacob on this. But yeah, it's been kind of a bummer for the Heat just losing Dragic and Bam like that, which I actually saw that Bam is eyeing a game 3 return. I don't know how productive he'll be, though. I don't know how back to 100% he will be. Jimmy Butler looked nice tonight. He wasn't really aggressive early on, but he ended with 25 points and a nice 13 assists. I think he almost had a triple-double, too. I think he had like 8 rebounds. Yeah, and Kelly Olynyk went off. That was pretty crazy. He had 24 points, was draining threes. Yeah, the Heat played hard. They did play hard. Anthony Davis was an absolute animal. He had 15 for 20 shooting. That's 75% in case you can't do math, but yeah, he scored. I think he had 32 points, 14 rebounds. LeBron had another LeBron game, 33, 9 and 9. He had 25 shots. He was 14 for 25, which is really good, but it's just putting it next to Anthony Davis is oh my gosh. It almost looks, not very good when you're putting it next to Anthony Davis, but both of those are just wow. Yeah. It's going to be hard to beat a team when their 2 best guys are that good and playing that well. Especially with, Bam Adebayo being out, who's a huge defensive piece on that Miami Heat team. Kind of sucks for the Heat. I'm just going to leave it at that, I guess. But yeah, I guess I should probably talk about, this new channel or this new podcast that we have. It's called the Next Man Up podcast. You're listening to it right now, so you know where to find it. But yeah, just thought I would record something, I guess, before the first episode to kind of have something up on here. But yeah, I really like the logo. I had my friend Landon make it. I really dig it, though. It's really cool. Let us know what you think of it. But I did convert the Lojo podcast or the Lojo channel on YouTube to literally change the name of it and everything, change the info on it to what you're on now. If you're on Spotify, it's the same Spotify feed, so you didn't have to subscribe to a new thing. I have left behind the Lojo podcast, for now. I feel good about leaving behind that dreadful name. Title, and starting something new with this one that I find less gross, or I find less lame. The name of it, Next Man Up Podcast, isn't too bad. So at least I don't think so right now. But yeah, what I'm really digging about this though is that just the aesthetics of it all. the kind of the icon, seeing it on there on the feed, and also that sick intro music. I like that a lot. So yeah, this will be a little bit of a shorter little thing, but I'm just going to talk about a little bit about the finals, like I already have been, but and then other things going on right now, which is like I'll just talk about basketball right now. Jacob, when he's on, as some of you already know, if you've listened to episodes in the past that I've had with Jacob on my other podcast, he's like the football guy. I'm the basketball guy. Thinking about making somewhat of like a catchy intro thing where we both kind of lay that out a little bit, where, so we don't have to constantly keep providing that context, that it's just kind of at the beginning, or maybe like in a graphic on the screen on YouTube videos or something, that it kind of shows like icons of both of us or something, and tells a little bit about ourselves. Like, I'm a basketball guy. I'm a Nuggets fan. I'm a Syracuse fan. And then Jacob is a Boston sports guy. So he's a Boston fan. And he also is a football guy primarily. So he pays attention to a lot of the NFL and college football. But we're both Nebraska guys because we are both born and raised in Nebraska. So, yeah. We'll find a better way to deliver that, I guess, to get that point across, at least a little bit of that context every time. Because, when he's talking about football, I'm usually just like listening or asking questions and stuff like that. We both kind of talk about basketball a lot. I usually take the wheel a little bit more on that. He's more of a generalist. He kind of is into a lot of different sports. I'm really just focused on basketball, but this will be fun. I'm getting more into football this year. This is probably the most I've been into football in a while, which is not very much, but I've watched a couple games, parts of them. I'll say that. I have a fantasy league. I've been paying attention to like fantasy football. But yeah, that's really about it. But I'll be able to talk more and more about the NFL with Jacob when he's on here, which will be usually. I think we'll do at least like weekly episodes with the both of us, hopefully. But yeah. So yeah, in the finals, the Heat have found themselves in a 2-0 hole, which is kind of sad. I was really excited for this postseason, for this finals. Really, was the most I've been excited about a finals matchup in a while. And coming into it, one of the things I thought about was kind of like that zone that Miami has. It's like it's been working really well against Boston and Milwaukee and the teams that they've faced in the playoffs so far. And Boston has a really good offensive-minded coach in Brad Stevens. And so one of the things I thought of was like, if Brad Stevens can't crack the Heat zone, how is Frank Vogel going to do that? Frank Vogel's known to be, defensive-minded coach, isn't really all that much on the offensive end of the floor. Just that was some of the things I was just thinking of. But then something I didn't really even think of until right as game one was starting, really, when we first saw the zone used, was like, LeBron James is probably the greatest player in the world. He is the greatest player in the world, but he's probably the greatest player in the world against his zone as well. Just because of how, one of his best attributes, obviously, is his passing. He's like almost a Magic Johnson level passer. He's one of the greatest facilitators in the history of the game from that forward position. And so the way he can pick apart a defense from the middle of the floor, a zone defense in particular, is as good as anybody. And, with all the years of experience he has too, it just adds on to that, and his IQ level. He's just a phenomenal player in that way. And also the targets that he has to pass to are really good at going against his zone. Like, since I'm a Syracuse fan, I know a lot about teams going up against zones. So, watching people play against Syracuse in college, usually a lot of 3-point shooters are the main thing that like really beat the zone when a team's really hot from three. But the Lakers don't really have 3-point shooters, but they do have players right now that are pretty hot from three. Rondo's shooting well. KCP has been shooting well, and at least in game 1. In game 2, he wasn't really on that much, but Danny Green can catch fire. He hasn't really, but Markieff Morris, LeBron, even Kuzma, they've all been shooting threes, and so there's a little bit of that. I wouldn't say that's really the main reason they're picking apart the zone, but the thing that they're doing well, and another thing that college teams do really well against Syracuse, like the teams that beat Syracuse in that way, beat the zone, the way they beat it a lot of times is they have those kind of athletic bigs that sneak behind the defense when the ball gets passed to that free throw line area. Just because, when a guy who has the shooting ability that LeBron James does, a guy that would be able to do this pretty well is like Nikola Jokic. But so a guy who catches the ball at the free throw line that has a respectable jump shot from that range, which is a lot of players in the NBA, but I guess, some more than others, and LeBron James definitely more than a lot of others. Catching it there, the guy that is in the middle of that zone defense that's down on the block and the 2-3 is going to have to come up to respect that shot. And when he comes up, if you have players in the dunker spot in the short corner right behind that, coming back door, guys who can receive lobs or even just, bounce passes and just finish really well all around the rim. They have Anthony Davis, who would probably be your number 1 draft pick if you just, laid out exactly what I just said. Who do you want for that? Anthony Davis, another guy who comes to mind, Giannis Antetokounmpo in the league today. Maybe like Joel Embiid, but yeah, those are the guys. And another guy who does this really well from more of the role player realm is Dwight Howard, and even JaVale McGee, who we didn't see a lot of, but Dwight Howard has been getting some substantial minutes, more than McGee at least. And they've both done that. When LeBron catches the ball at the free throw line, he's got those guys who come in and to sneak behind the defense, the guy that he has to come up on him. And when they do that, when they sneak in, either he's going to dump it off to them or the zone's going to have to collapse and cover that backdoor cut or that backdoor little flash, that little space, that little window that he gets to pass it in there. And when they do that, then, he swings it out to an open man or on the 3-point arc, which guys are hitting at a pretty decent clip. Caruso is another guy that hit a couple threes tonight that I forgot to mention. But yeah, even if they're not hitting threes against the zone, when you swing it out like that, you got the closeout. And if they just pump fake and drive to the rim, usually good comes from that. Either free throws or, he's scoring at the rim or another kick out as the defense collapses when you drive on it like that. Usually some pretty good stuff comes from that. So, yeah, it's a good game plan. I'll just say that. And it's something that the Celtics did not do at all. And the Lakers just have better personnel for it. Even though they don't have an offensive-minded coach to really create a scheme to beat it. It's just simple. It's you have LeBron James and you have those guys, and they just do it. LeBron James is a very adept offensive mind. It doesn't matter who their coach is. He's going to do it. So, yeah, there's that. And, Dragic, who has been the Heat's leading scorer throughout the playoffs, him being out is a huge, that's a huge blow to the Miami Heat and their title chances, really. So, that's really tough. Bam Adebayo, obviously, too. Both those guys. Bam Adebayo has been arguably the best player on this team throughout the postseason, I would say. It's really, they really have a three-headed snake in terms of who their best guy is. Probably more too, people would argue, between Jimmy and Bam, if you're really going to narrow it down. But Dragic has been really good too. And, and then the supporting cast around that with Crowder and Robinson and Hero, even Kelly Olynyk, like we saw tonight. Andre Iguodala has been really big in a lot of moments. Even Solomon Hill coming in for some minutes hasn't been awful. So, yeah. I really respect this team. I like that they're here. It's kind of sad how it really did go for them. Even if they had it, everybody, obviously the Lakers are still favored, but I think it would be more of a competitive series. Yeah, that just kind of sucks. I guess news that's going on around the NBA outside of the finals. Kyrie has been saying some pretty wild stuff. Like he had, I think he was in a podcast. I think KD was in it too. They were interviewed in a podcast, and Kyrie said something about how I don't really see our team as having a head coach. And then he went on to say, like, Steve can be the head coach some days. Kevin can, I can, Jock Vaughn can. Yeah, and it's kind of like, just as if I was a Nets fan and I heard that, I would just be so nervous. I'd be so like, why are you really going to screw this up? This team that we have assembled, like all this talent, this new head coach that has, obviously some promise just because of, on paper, what he was as a player. I feel like that's just concerning to hear as a Nets fan, if you're a Nets fan. Just because Kyrie's going to mess up another situation, probably. With, like, what kind of attitude is that? Like, I kind of get what he's saying, that, you can get direction, get ideas, get input from a bunch of different people, and it's like a team effort. Yeah, for sure. That's what a freaking basketball team is. But to say that you don't have a head coach, I'm just curious to see what, like, Steve Nash thinks. Even if he, like, I don't care what Steve Nash even thinks of it. He might be just humble and be like, yeah, that's right, or something like that. But, like, when push comes to shove, you have a head coach, okay? Like, just listen to your coach. You're going to have to listen to your coach sometimes. Not everything's just going to be a group decision or, whatever. And I don't think Steve Nash is going to be like, that really that much of a dictator, executive order type of thing. I'm sure he's going to be very inclusive, but it's like he's still that you signed him to a big contract to be your head coach. So that's what he is. He's your head coach. So just kind of wild things that come out of his mouth sometimes. But another thing he said, I believe it was in the same interview. I might be wrong about that. I don't know. I didn't listen to it. I've heard these clips from it, which might be, out of context. But with Kyrie, it really does sound like that's what he said, without, really any more context needed. But I guess we'll see about that if I look into it more. But so he said another thing that was like talking about Kevin Durant being teammates with him, saying, on my previous teams, I really felt like I was the best option down the stretch in close games. And now I finally have a teammate for the first time. I have a teammate that I can look at and think, that guy can hit that shot too. And it's like it's just so obvious that he's throwing shade, especially at LeBron. He had Jason Tatum, who wasn't really that kind of guy last year, I would say. He's really kind of grown into that this year. So I don't really have any problem with him saying that about the Celtics, his Celtics teammates. But you have LeBron James. You had LeBron James on your team, which, Kyrie was, he was a bit of the closer in a lot of those scenarios. But we've seen LeBron do it many, many a times. LeBron has hit way more clutch shots in his career than Kyrie Irving has. And I saw stats about it that he's even a more efficient one in the clutch, in terms of, field goal percentage and 3-point percentage and that kind of stuff. But so it's kind of like, yeah, whatever. It just seems like he's just intentionally digging, like having a dig at LeBron for some reason. But then I saw a quote from LeBron, and I don't know if he was explicitly asked about that quote that Kyrie said, or if this just kind of came out like he was kind of thinking about it and also said that, this quote. But LeBron said, in reference to Anthony Davis, playing alongside Anthony Davis, that, it's great. I love him as a teammate. We never get jealous of each other. We always trust each other, like that kind of thing. Kind of implying that he's had teammates in the past that have been jealous of him, or they get jealous of each other and they can't trust each other, that type of thing. And right after that, with him saying that right after that Kyrie quote coming out, just kind of seems like that's who he's talking about. So it's just kind of funny. I think it's just entertaining. It's like two, exes. They were in a relationship together, and now they're just like kind of bragging about, the new relationship they have, like the new person they're with, and they're just kind of trying to rub it in and trying to act like they don't care, and like, oh, I'm so happy now, look at me. Like, it's just kind of funny. It makes me laugh in that way. But yeah, honestly, LeBron, being in the finals with Anthony Davis, and I saw Dwayne Wade actually said after the game tonight, I think, that Anthony Davis is the best teammate LeBron has ever had, or something along those lines, which I thought was pretty cool. That was pretty big of D Wade to say something like that. It's kind of cool. But yeah, and then another thing I guess I didn't mention, we haven't talked about yet, was Doc Rivers got hired by Philly. Like, I think he's had a 5-year deal, which is pretty big. And I've heard trade rumors about, apparently people talking about possibly trading Simmons to Minnesota for the number 1 draft pick, which sounds like, why this draft out of all drafts? That's like, for the Sixers side, that sounds bad. Don't do that. I'm not even a Philly fan, but don't do that. That just would be ew. Okay. And apparently they're keeping Elton Brand. I feel like they should probably move on from him too. But I don't know. We'll see, because he's the one who constructed this circus of a roster. But yeah, I think there's definitely better trade hauls you can get from Simmons than LaMelo Ball. Apparently was the person that I heard that's the person they're targeting in that to get with that first pick. Yeah, no, not gonna happen. I don't know. No. It's people I like better to try to package Simmons or Embiid for, to get. Let's just say you're trying to keep Embiid. Trade Simmons for, to Sacramento for Hield, some picks, Bogdanovich maybe even, just Hield and Bogdanovich would be nice. That would be awesome. I think that'd be a nice little. Then you get back. Maybe you try to throw Horford in there, make it an even bigger trade. More assets in there, coming both ways. To move off of one of those contracts, either Horford or Harris. If I was the Sixers, I'd probably rather keep the Harris contract over the Horford one. But that's just me. If you're keeping Simmons, if you're keeping Embiid, if you're keeping Simmons, maybe keep the Horford one just for him to be that 5, because I think Horford's a nice 5 to go into a Simmons lineup. Teams should want Simmons. There's plenty of small, bad teams right now that would love to build around Simmons. GMs out there that would love to build around Simmons. That's for sure a thing you can do. You're seeing it done in Milwaukee. I had a discussion with somebody about this recently, but and I think I had a whole episode about, not a whole episode, but I talked about it in an episode before about Simmons and how you could build a team around Simmons very similarly than you do with a team around Giannis in Milwaukee. A lot of similarities between Simmons and Giannis to compare and contrast. Obviously, Giannis is probably the better rim finisher for sure, of attacking the rim. In the full court, though, Simmons has been incredible. And it's really the half court where he struggles because of how clunky the roster is around him. Like, it does not fit for him to be successful in a half court setting. A team built around Simmons the way they have one in Milwaukee is, I think you would get a lot of the same shortcomings. I'm not saying it would be as good as the Bucks or better or anything like that, but it would be similar. You would see similar results, and I feel like you'd have similar shortcomings where you don't have that isolation score. I think Simmons might be a little bit more of an isolation scorer than Giannis is. He has a little bit more of that kind of turnaround post up jumper in the short mid range. I feel like he just has a little bit more touch than Giannis does around the rim and that kind of stuff. Giannis isn't super graceful with his touch usually. He's kind of just a rim attacker. A lot of those like little floaters and stuff that he tries to put over the defense is usually an offensive rebound before he does get it in. Simmons is more so the graceful finisher. And obviously Simmons has the much better playmaking ability. He's the much better facilitator, the table setter. I think that's very obvious. I think Ben Simmons is obviously one of the best playmakers in the NBA right now, and he does it in a setting that is so difficult for somebody to be a good playmaker, just because he lacks the jump shot to keep people up on him, to stay away from those pass. It's the farther you're away from somebody, the more passing lanes you can clog, and so people don't really have to play up on him, which that's his fault, but for not shooting threes and not shooting jump shots and keeping himself respected in that way. But then around that, they don't have much spacing on that team to where you're gonna be able to make plays in that way. Things would open up a lot more for him if the floor was spaced and he could attack the basket and get going downhill and make plays like that. You're gonna, if he can get going downhill in a half court set the way Giannis does, then players are gonna have to stay pretty up on him to stay in front of him. You can't let him start getting downhill. And if you're doing that, that opens up more things playmaking wise. And yeah, if you surround that with shooters, at least and they don't have to be like super expensive shooters either. You just need serviceable, like average 3-point shooters. If you surround it with maybe like one Joe Harris out there, you got maybe Zach Collins as your 5, something like that. I'm just throwing random players in here, but something like George Hill is your point guard. I don't know, something random like that. Monty Morris, or I don't know. Those kinds of players around him. Just like, they're not knockdown shooters, but they can do it. They're respectable 3-point shooters. Those guys they're not that expensive. That could work. And yeah, so there's that. But I've seen a lot of rumors about that he's going to be traded. Another guy I think he could be traded for is like Zach LaVine or Bradley Beal. If Bradley Beal asks out, which he might. Victor Oladipo apparently is asking out of Indiana. So that could be a way they could go, even though Victor isn't a great shooter, but definitely better than Simmons. And then even like Devin Booker, which I doubt Phoenix would do that. But yeah, I guess just throwing more out there. Better. It's definitely better than LaMelo Ball, like the first pick from Minnesota. Maybe if you include D'Lo in that or something, if you go for D'Lo instead and get a future pick or something like that, that'd be better. Definitely better than getting LaMelo Ball. I'm not hating on LaMelo Ball, but it's like you're really you're trading in Ben Simmons for LaMelo Ball. Like, you don't even know what he is yet. There's so many red flags, I guess, about him. I'm not saying I don't like him or that I don't think he can be a good player in this league. He definitely can, but we don't know if he will be yet. You're banking on something big if you're going to trade Ben Simmons for that, who is obviously somebody that you can build around. I don't know. But anyways, I saw this article that was talking about ranking the best candidates for the Clippers head coaching gig. So this is a list on the Score, so I'm just going to react to it, but I haven't looked at this yet. But okay, so at number 4 they have Sam Cassell, which would be cool. I think Sam Cassell should go to the Rockets. That's kind of where I want him to end up. But yeah, Sam Cassell would be a cool, interesting person to fill that head coaching role. I don't think he's been a head coach before. He's been a assistant coach on multiple benches, but I don't think he's ever been a head coach before. But yeah, that'd be cool. Jeff Van Gundy is number 3, which that's interesting. He has a lot of coaching experience. That would be interesting. Number 2 is Mike D'Antoni, which I think would be weird. Clippers coached by Mike D'Antoni would be kind of different, but he's very interesting. Like I feel like you just need a coach that can get this team to play the way they need to. It's very they have a very well built roster. They should just do what they're gonna they need to do. Mike D'Antoni is somebody that is going to change lots of stuff about the team, in terms of how they play and stuff. So it'd be weird, but it'd be interesting. I'd kind of like want to peek into that parallel universe to see like how that would work out, but I don't know if it's gonna happen that way, or if it should. Tyronn Lue is number 1, who I would have guessed would be up here. I think that's a really good job for him. I think that seeing what he did with the Cavs in 2016, I think that's perfect for him. Just some stars that need to get over the hump. They need to do what they obviously are capable of, and I think Ty Lue is a perfect coach for that. Not perfect, but a nice choice. So that's who I would probably vote for if I was a Clippers fan. But obviously it's not elected official, but whatever. But yeah, like I said, I just wanted to record this really quick just because I want to. I couldn't resist. I'm really excited for this podcast. Really liking it a lot, just the thought of it and the look of it and everything. So, but yeah, look forward to Monday, which will probably be like Monday night-ish, Tuesday morning-ish when I will upload it, because we are going to record, then edit and upload. We've been using like the Discord call as a recording because we live in different cities. So, but it's been cutting out a lot. Especially Jacob. Jacob's a really loud guy. He talks at a very high volume, and it cuts out a lot when he's talking on Discord, just because the mic like caps out, like there's clipping in the audio and whatever. It just kind of dumps. But so like I feel like we should maybe try to see if we can like record both on Audacity or something, just record audio straight into it while we're on Discord together, and just use those audio files and line them up audio wise using clapping or whatever. But just to get, I guess, a crisper sound where you can also just hear every word instead of all those cutting out. Like, even, everything that you hear in the recording of what Jacob's saying, all those cutouts and stuff like that in the previous couple episodes, that's what I hear too over the call. So there's some times where he'll say something and I don't know exactly what he just said, but I can kind of like try to guess. But yeah, so there'll still be some of that where I can't hear him completely just because of the way the Discord mic is working, audio is working. But you'll be able to hear everything he says if he's talking into a microphone on Audacity, hopefully. But yeah, so look forward to that episode. Episode 1 is what it's going to be called. Number 1. I'll probably have some kind of title after it. I don't know what I'm going to name this one, but it's not going to count as episode 1. It's kind of just like an introduction, a pilot episode. I don't know, something like that with half the crew. But yeah, so I'm really excited for this. I hope you guys are too. Please like and subscribe if you have not already. Subscribe and follow the Spotify feed and all that kind of stuff. Any support helps. I'm really thankful again to my friend Landon for making this logo and stuff. And yeah, all the support that I get from, friends and people in my life. So yeah, it really means a lot to me and Jacob for, us to be able to do this. It's really fun and we're both really excited for it. So yeah, I will talk to you guys next time on the next episode of this. So yeah, look forward to that and I'll see you guys later.